Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exclusive Consciousness. This is episode 7. Being an efficient communicator will get you farther in life. Now, today I have another special guest, someone that I consider probably one of the closest people in existence when you find humankind being interesting in the future. Archaeologists will look at bodies and go, man, who was interesting back then? Nah, we're just a bunch of bones now, bro. Nobody cares about your hashtag filter, hashtag no filter shit. But anyways, that's so off track. But I wanted to make my buddy laugh here. This is my best friend here. I talked about him actually in another episode. He was the guy I called. If you watch episode 5, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyways, Cameron Clark is in the building.
What?
He is literally one of the most creative guys you'll ever meet. And today we're just going to be talking about communication and talking about being efficient and effective with your communication, you know? So I got a couple questions, just like I had questions for Christine. It's going to be a regular thing. One of my first questions to you, and it's pretty on the nose with what we're talking about. How do you communicate? Are you direct, calculated, cautious, shy, or timid? Or are you bold, brave, unafraid to speak your mind?
Which one of those is the one that will make me sound the best? No, I would like to think that I am direct and honest on all fronts when it comes to communication. I think that's something that I've always prioritized in every relationship in my life. I think people just respect you more when you're honest and clear. Like, I try to be really clear. My girlfriend likes to say that in stories, sometimes I get distracted by the details, and then she's like, all right, wrap it up. So I hope that it doesn't follow through in, how I respond to things or my communication in general. But I really like to be clear. When I need something, this is what it is. And then, thank you. Yes, please, of course. Thank you, always. Yeah. But to the point.
I love that. No, I think that's probably the best type of person, in my opinion, where it's just like, you're telling me what's on your mind, or you're telling me what you need right now, and we don't have to like tiptoe around this game of I have to try to figure it out now. I think a lot of people in relationships will do that, where it's like you have to jump through mental hurdles to like figure out what's going on. Oh, your boss yelled at you at work. Now you're acting up because I didn't want to massage your feet, and it's like these two disconnected things now are becoming like joint, where it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to hurt me if you don't do it.
Yeah, there definitely can be mental jumps that you make in assumptions of like, I know you love your feet massaged always, all right? So if it doesn't, right, then it means there was either rain or you were really sad,
right?
No, but seriously, we do make these certain associations, even though sometimes like it might just be complete coincidence. But also I'm an idiot, so I don't know.
Oh my gosh. No, you're not. You're everything far away from an idiot. You're actually an incredible writer. And that's actually my next question for you. What does the word writer mean to you?
I think people overcomplicate professions and titles in general, because I was saying this to my dad. A really important thing about jobs is knowledge, right? You have to have the knowledge to do it, but it doesn't take that much unless you're an engineer or you're doing something with like fucking space or like doctor shit or what, those kind of things. I understand you want to be very well trained, and it's not something you can really train into anymore unless you do years and years of studying. But most of the jobs around us, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month of training and then repetition. So we go from there. So really, I think the profession of like, oh, you can't do what I do is like, yeah, I probably could. Probably. There's a good percentage. Yeah. So like keeping yourself humble in that aspect. But if you do that, then you are that. So like I'm a writer, like I'm a poet, a filmmaker, these are things that I'm done. So like I'm granting myself permission to have that title because that's important. That way I don't have that imposter syndrome, because at the end of the day, it's like we're human beings and we do a variety of different stuff. Titles don't actually matter. If that's something that you're questioning in your head, just give yourself that permission, man. You're a writer, or you're this, like that's important. So being a writer is one, doing the act, but kind of speaking that into existence and giving yourself that permission. I am a writer.
I will say that I feel like so many people, especially here in Hollywood, feel like there's so much competition, constant, like, oh wow, my work is competing with the works of thousands, if not millions of people who want their stuff featured on these streaming platforms, right? Because that's now the thing most people are looking at. Or even just some people still look at like box office numbers and like the past of like the movie theater, and you want that old school kind of success. But at the same time, like you said, it's like you're suffering from this imposter syndrome. Like, am I as good as the greats that came before that like created this whole era and even started this business? Can I live live up to that, you know, and even in just recent years, because there's been so many great movies and so many great projects. That's why I love creating with you, because it's like we are able to think on a different plane. We're completely changing the way that movies are made. And in my sense, when I read our stuff, I'm like, nobody's ever thought about this. Like, no, I've never seen anything like this. And like, that's what makes me exciting about writing. That's just me personally, but that's why we're writing partners. And I love that about us. And just like, I love that we can just talk about all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to switch it up on you.
Okay.
What's your favorite style of music and why?
Okay, so this would probably stem from the fact that I've always loved poetry as a child, and I think one of the purest forms and something that I've always seen was hip hop and R&B. It goes back and forth between which is my favorite. Like, if Frank Ocean drops an album tomorrow, R&B is my number one. But, you know, like, depending on what I'm feeling, it like really sways back and forth. I just think that there's such a beauty in the wordplay, in the timing, how people can pull off these word tricks in, you know, a certain amount of syllables and get it to move you, and for you to understand that, and to be like 6 months later, you heard this, you know, thing a year ago or whatever, and then you're sitting in your car like da, 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 and you're like, holy shit, oh, he meant that.
Yeah,
like that's super, I think, powerful, and I think that's what I love the art form. And R&B, I think I just love that, like, you could be in like a Tuesday in like traffic like in the middle of the day, and it could just make you feel sexy. You're like, damn, I could fuck everyone. yeah. Like, I love that music has that ability innately, but like specifically, I think R&B holds that.
Yeah, I love that you said that hip hop hits you in waves, you know, like these, like, and it doesn't happen like, it's not an overnight or a week thing, but it's like months and months past. Because I've had that happen to me. Even years later, you'll hear a song and you're like, damn, I never actually fully listened to that song, you know. And now that I'm hearing it, applies a whole new meaning, it applies a whole new perspective, and it can really just change the way you see even your present moment, even though you heard the song for the first time 10 years ago. You know, and it's like, that's the great thing about music. That's what I love that. So the next one, I'm kind of jumping around all these different genres for you, because I'm trying to see if you're an efficient communicator. You know what I mean? So
it's very meta.
It's very meta. But what's your favorite fitness tip?
My favorite is shock. I mean, this is so like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, not hidden gem, but it's like, you know, switch it up, like, shock your body. Like, we like to be creatures of habit, so it's good to get a routine and be like, oh, like Monday I do chest, so like, but like your body, you know, in an evolutionary sense, it needs to be challenged. You like back in like when you're hunting, like your ancestors were hunting, it's not like, oh, well, Tuesdays I don't really run after deer. It's like, no, I'm hungry, run after and get that deer, get it right now.
Right.
Like, that's important. So like, I just like to incorporate like more holistic, like, you know, primitive things in like that, like, you know, not doing just normal workouts, like, you know, making it fun, using body weights in interesting ways, but like switching it up, like shock your system so that you can progress or make things continually stronger without plateauing as much.
That's so interesting. I was just thinking about how this caveman creature or hunter would be like, Deborah, you didn't get any berries today, so now our family's gonna die. You didn't hunt any deer, our family's gonna die. It's like, oh my God. I was also thinking about it. It's like, what were names like back then? Like, if cavemen were real, what were names? You know, was it just sounds, or like you didn't even have a concept of a name yet? You know, I don't think, or I don't know. Like, that's an interesting place to be, right?
Yeah. How do you catch like a caveman's attention? Like when he's in the field,
throw a rock at him.
Like, yeah. And there's like a cheetah or like something like far, and you're like, I can't alert the cheetah.
Right.
But like, what if I, you know, like, so I think what is a caveman's name is a funny, like, that's like a funny high thought. You're like, what's a cave, you know, but like, did they have names? That's good. I'm sure there were like certain variations of grunts that they would use if we're speaking pre-lingual days for these Neanderthals. But I guess you'd be like, this big guy who I have sex and like a couple of children with, like, you'd be like, yeah, that's and that's my partner for life. I was just thinking about like those relationships. Like, I don't know, maybe people were more satisfied with just like being alive and like whatever, but like, I can't think of any scenario where a woman is like, I wish he would grunt at me more, you know? Right. Like, that's just like, I feel like a cave woman's thought that, you know, like, I wish he would, you know, pick the lice out of my head. Right. Like, I just feel like he's not thinking about me when he's skinning that calf.
Right. It's like, why can't he hit me in my butt with the caveman stick, you know?
Sure. Yeah, you definitely have some kinky ass cave women out there.
That's such a funny place to take it. Okay. I love that. No, it makes it so much more fun. This is a deeper question. Do you find significance in the insignificant, or do you only focus on certain things?
Ooh, like, so I only focus, like, do I only focus on significant things versus significance and on like all holistically?
Like you're attentive to the whole world, right? You kind of have to be if you're a good communicator. But that's my question to you.
That's deep.
Be honest.
I think, be honest, I really do think that there's significance in everything. There's innate value in everything. I mean, I think that stems from like my spiritual beliefs. I don't value anything as insignificant, because if anything's insignificant, then we're all insignificant, right? And on the inverse is we could be all insignificant, but we also could be, very significant, or all significant. And that's, I think, a beautiful thought. It paints a picture of this world or this universe or multiverse that is more interconnected. And that's a place that I think magic is alive, and that's the world, and that's the universe, and that's a multiverse that I want to live in. So like that's where I would do it. And I think that, yeah, I choose to treat everything significantly and be a part of that interconnected process.
It definitely is an interconnected process. I'm glad you were able to like understand that question, because when I was writing it, I was like, this is really fucking deep. Like I was like, is this gonna make sense? But I'm glad you understood kind of what.
Trying to catch me slipping.
No, no, not at all. This one is taking you more into Cameron. This one is more looking into Cameron. What's the hardest thing you've ever had to do?
Oh man, there's a couple of things out there. Like, I think when we were struggling with what is now the Kentucky Tracks, when we were struggling with that for the first 2 years, like we were just growing and writing, and life was kind of like getting at both of us. And like those first 2 or 3, almost maybe, somewhere in between 2 and 3 years, like those were tough for us as like writers, and like, feeling like, oh, am I even good at this? And struggling with these thoughts, and then being like, oh, it's done. Yes, it's done. And then someone being like, dude, this is nowhere near done. And you're like, fuck. So you restart it. We had that process like 3 or 4 times, and it's crushing. It's crushing to new writer, especially when you're learning, but you're also like learning to fall. You're like falling in love with it too. Like it makes for like a bad partner, I guess. You have to go through that, because like when you work at it, you really get that satisfaction of when you do have that opportunity, or when you do see someone's eyes light up when you tell them that story, or when they read that, and when those words that you wrote day in and day out and put a lot of time into, and that moves them, that it excites your heart. It opens up the valve. There's a spark there. It's really awesome. So that was one of the hardest things I had to do, other than just keeping it breezy all the time.
No, I mean, I totally get that. Like, it's like keeping up an appearance is probably the hardest thing we do every day. I'll be honest, those first couple years when we were in the writing process, like when we first started to know each other and each other's work ethic and the way we think and kind of how we create ideas, it was a beautiful thing, man. Like I really haven't had that with too many people in my life. Like throughout the years, I had, there was people in high school, some people in middle school, but it's like once you get past college and school, it's like, man, who really sticks around? Who's really there, and who's really wanting to create something cool that has significance and maybe is telling a different kind of story that nobody's ever told. That to me is a part of our communication process, and it's like unlocking your own process is a big part of, I think, this whole episode and the whole understanding of being an efficient and active communicator, right? Put it to practice and talk to new people. One of the things I learned when I was really young is just like go up to anybody and start a conversation. Anybody who you think you find interesting, like most people are willing to talk. As long as you don't come off as a weirdo, then you're fine. Like if you just start asking basic questions, hey, yo, where are you from? What do you do for work? Oh yeah, I've been living in this city for 12 years, and I've been a cashier, at this restaurant for 12 years. Same spot. It's a family business. Oh wow, that's amazing, and then you walk away from that conversation. Then you talk to somebody else, and you're like, oh, what are you drinking? Oh, I got a gin and tonic. Oh wow, is that your favorite drink? Actually, no, I like whiskey more, but right now I'm doing gin because I'm on a diet. It's like you never know what they might say, but that's the exciting part about talking to new people. I just wanted to toss that in there. Go ahead.
I just wanted to circle back to something you said. I wanted, to obviously emphasize like the hardest part of, writing a script and learning how to write a script while you have like literally gold in your hands. Like, so there was just an enormous amount of pressure and everything. But yeah, us writing together, there was never a doubt, because the way that we would interact was just, we had to find our groove. Like there was times we did double work, and It wasn't as efficient. Like now we could write a script in about like 6 weeks. I really do think 6 weeks. Like it would just take 6 weeks because we'd be like, all right, we would plot it out. And then once we would do that, each of us would probably take out like 10 page or like, narrative sections of that and then flip. We'd do that. And then next 2, right? Boom, flip and keep that going. And it really wouldn't take that long.
That'd be 20 pages every week for 6 weeks. I mean, that plus the time to revise and edit at the very end, the whole thing. And then that's just your first draft. If you think about it, right? You're only turning in the first draft, but that's just you building. That's a lot. I think when we buckle down, we can get so much writing done. Like I've seen the sessions that we've had when we're just like shooting the shit. And then there's times when we're like, let's just do a 4-hour session. And then we'll come out with some amazing stuff. And you're going, man, we did like 12 pages today, dude. Like that's awesome. That's a great thing, Like I've heard other writers, not to diss anybody else, but like other people, I talk to them about their process. You hear other people's things because that's how you also learn. That's how you grow and you become better at your stuff. But people sometimes, I write, a page a month or like, 3-4 pages like every here and there. And then there's people who will tell me, they're like, I just finished another script. And I'm just looking at like the opposite. And I'm kind of like right in the middle. I would love to be more in the part where that first girl's like, or the second girl, because it was a chick who actually was like, I write a script a week. And I was like, that's impressive. Like, that's really impressive. And she's like, yeah. And she's got an agent that reads all her stuff for her and then like goes through the process with her. And that's exciting. It is exciting. And like, if I had more of a means to like make more money at this moment, then yeah, I would obviously be living that way. And that's the future, right? That's what we're working towards. Everything is a job. Everything, like I once said to one of my friends, Willie, I said, being a YouTuber is a luxury, right? You have to have enough money to where you can just save up. And then all you do is YouTube. You just make YouTube videos to try to make that grow. Like that's always been kind of a luxury in life, right? There are people, those first YouTubers, they had their parents to live off of. They were living in their parents' house. They were creating in their apartments because they already had enough money to survive and sustain themselves. So they could build a brand. Businesses aren't built on just nothing. It's like someone has to already have enough of means or enough support and investments where they can just make this thing go and start running, and like that's like what I see us doing. And it's just crazy. It's a crazy world and it's like a crazy business, but the fact that we're doing it just makes us nuts, and it's like seriously, it's like people are like, you're doing that? Like I remember the first time I told my dad I was an actor, he was like, that's what you want to do? That's the response probably every single actor's parents get, that's what you want to do? Like that doesn't sound unsupportive, but it also doesn't sound very supportive, Dad, it's like, but it is what it is. And I have to be understanding about that. That's communication as well, being understanding of how that other person's feeling. I feel like feeling and communication are almost like jointed, right?
Yeah. There's definitely a hand-in-hand kind of process when you're talking about your feelings or maybe the tone that you're communicating in.
Yeah.
You have to. There has to be an extra sense involved in communication. Like you have to sense things out. Like, is this person like in a good mood? Like, is this a good time to tell them about this? Like, or when they're telling me this, like when they're saying they're fine and then they're sighing and looking away from me, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, because then you could have a complete, babe, I'm fine. And then they open the kitchen. You're like, okay. Like, but one of those is wrong. There's something wrong in one of those. It's really important to stay intuitive when you're communicating. Because if you don't, like, you just flatlines. Like no one's gonna want to talk to you if you just have like no sense of this social experience, unless you're socially awkward, then it's but then you got to be extra sensitive to those people. That's a completely different story.
I love that. Okay, next question on the topic of love.
Okay.
How do you show love?
Oh man, showing love. Yeah. So I am a huge physical touch guy. So I have a girlfriend. She lives in Rio, in Brazil, and we do long distance, and so that gets tough, and hers is quality time. So two of them, that distance absolutely just rails. Like it's just like the worst for it, really. But physical touch to me is like a therapeutic thing. Like, let me touch or relieve whatever is there with like my hands, like the shoulder rubs at the end of the day when my girl is like her neck's tired. That's an I love you without saying I love you, like I think I love yous are precious. And I actually have like a poem that I'm putting together right now about how I love you should just be like a declaration of your love. And in that it should be like unconditional or whatever love means really to you. But it should never be like saying I love you means I'm sorry. Keep your I love yous precious. A little shoulder rub, I think at the end of the day, who doesn't like that? But that's an I love you. However I can bestow energy upon you through through touch, I think that that's important, and there's love in that.
I think what you were trying to say is that saying I love you is a very sacred thing.
Sure.
Right? The passing of energy is constant everywhere, all over the place. If you ever took a science class, you'd know that. But it's like when you put your hands on someone, you know, you're right. It's like there is a very strong transfer of energy because it's the easiest way of being able to like hold on to somebody and just like feel them. You can't, that's literally the only way to do it, really.
You feel their life force.
You can feel it, you know, and you can feel their vibrations, and you can, if you really focus on it, and you can, like, when one of my grandmas passed, she was in the hospital, and I prayed for her one last time before she went into a coma. I actually grabbed her hand, and I could feel her vibration. I could feel the blood moving through her body, and I was like, this is incredible. I've never felt it ever with anybody else in my whole life, but touching her when she was at that moment, and the connection we had through that prayer, and like just the time we spent at the very end, it was a very beautiful moment. But it was incredible. I could feel her blood like the nervous system in her body, her cardiovascular system. It was all pumping. It was all working, and you could tell it was doing it over time, like it was in its final, you know, like
it was the grand finale.
The grand finale. Yeah. Exactly. I got 3 more questions for you, Cameron. 3 more questions. These are I'm really liking your answers. I'm loving where you're taking some of this stuff in the conversation we're having, and I'm gonna leave most of this stuff in, which is great. Just kidding. I'm gonna leave all of it.
I'm gonna delete it.
It's all gone. This next one is more of a thinker about the whole concept as a whole. Do you think mastering communication is a gift or a skill?
I think that it is a mixture of both. I don't think it is as binary as kind of that question is really going for. I think you can master communications to the best of your abilities, but then you just have people like Muhammad Ali, when he's talking shit to, you know, in his press conference, he doesn't stutter once. He keeps going. It's fluid. He has those timings down. He has that rhythm. Tom Hardy, when you see him in any movie, just his timing like comes off a little brush and awkward, but it flows so well. You know, like there's Drake has this whole like, he's first take Drake, so he nails all his lines on the first take. That's incredible. I think it's a little bit of both, that there's people naturally gifted. Obviously, I think anything in this world is like hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard, right? That's just, I think, the way life goes. Definitely think you can work at it, but only to the best of your abilities. You'll never be able to reach someone else's abilities. I think that's just a bit much. Like that's unachievable and a little sad, because then if you don't reach it, you just get crushed by it. But yeah, no, I think you have to take it upon your own ability. Yeah, some are gifted and some have to work at it, but it is scalable.
So this next question is more about your spiritual relationship with the Lord. I know you've kind of mentioned it here and there. This one is more just the focus of it, the whole thing. So how has your relationship with God changed within the last 25 years?
I mean, within the last 25 years, pre-25, I was pretty naive to a lot of things that the Lord was doing. Or maybe I was all knowing about what the Lord was doing because I was with him. That'd be cool. Yeah. That's an interesting thought. It's so cliche, but it's a journey. Yeah. You know, you're learning things, you're processing. You can only process at your human ability. I think it's important to remember that we are eternal beings, like our souls, our essence, our energy, whatever you really want to call it, whatever we spiritually and metaphysically boil down to, the essence of us, that's eternal. But we're in temporary time suits. Like with these things that, you know, like Pete Holmes has this, you know, funny little thing. He's like, we're just like space travelers with these like astronaut suits. Like, and I get it. Like, yeah, these are Earth suits. It's important to realize that I say this to myself when I'm anxious. I'm not meant to know what this means or what this is right now or, you know, whatever. I just like need to, you know, calm down. Like, it's okay, because I'm made for the earth right now. Right now I'm in earth mode. Right. You know, like, but I know that also my soul is eternal. So I can understand the longing for my soul to feel greater connected with our creation source, like God, like, you know, so like I can be understanding of myself. I can be my own best friend basically and talk myself down from things. I think it's important to realize like the state that we're in, and to gradually understand more about our relationship with spirituality. Taking it like, hey, we have this time, however long we have, like taking this time and spending it with, you know, the Lord. But looking at the Lord in all things, like going to the park, going to see a pond, right, you know, full of geese, or
appreciate the creation.
Appreciating the creation, but knowing that creation is a part of God. We all have a part of God in us. Right. And it's important to appreciate that and realize that we're not past that in this internet age and feeling like we need need to do more than we are actually doing and never being truly satisfied. It's important to be content. It's even more, we're on a precipice more to be content. We should be striving, right? I don't need that Gucci bag to feel awesome. Like I can go to the park or just hang out with my best friend or, surf or ride a bike. It's not as complicated as all it seems. And like I have to appreciate the time I get to spend about learning more and more about our Creator and knowing that the book of life and the book of your own spiritual scripture never finishes, because that keeps going, right? I think the more things is also trusting your gut too. Learning to trust your gut on what's spiritually capable for you, and do I feel comfortable in this situation? Oh no, why is that? Dissecting everything. I just think that it seems every season brings a new lesson. Summing it up, I just feel like I rambled a lot, I suppose, but I've had 25 years, and I think I've had at least 25 spiritual revelations, and just continuing and looking forward to the next one and learning about that life and learning about our connection, our creation source, and the connection we have with that God. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I will say this. I think you speak of eternal life because you have accepted Jesus into your heart. That's the whole idea. This is why the breakdown of our faith is so important, because it's literally we accept Jesus into our heart. We accept that he died for our sins, that he literally came down from earth. He is the living essence of God. He literally came down. God was like, I'm going to make myself into a human being and I'm going to call him Jesus. So see what people do with that. It's like, it's all a big experiment. It's all a big game. And it's like this person came down with this intention of literally dying for your sins, literally saying like, we're sinners. We live in a world that is constantly asking us to sin, and sometimes our temptations lead us down that path to where we do it. But it's asking for forgiveness and acknowledging that the creator of this world, of our existence, literally is saying, I'll forgive you. Just ask for forgiveness. And we do it. And then he's like, and if you decide to accept me, the essence of me, my son coming to earth, then I'll give you eternal life. And people, they get so trapped with the meanings and the differentiations and the different little nuances that I'm just like, at its core, it's all about acceptance. It's about faith, knowing that, like you said, those 25 spiritual experiences, I would say I would have like 25 too, something like that, but it's like
maybe even more.
But it really is, this world is filled with the Spirit, and you'll see it if you seek it. You'll see it if you seek it. So that's what I'll say. And before we let Cameron go, I'm going to ask him one last question. What do you hope to accomplish next?
That's an awesome question. This interview has been awesome, man. I've been loved discussing with this. You're my best friend and a great writing partner. I couldn't ask for anyone better. I think the things that, we do in terms of creativity is an awesome gift. And I'm grateful for that eternally. I am looking forward to this next chapter. Immediately, I want to make a short film. It's called The Rage of the Kung Fu Kid. And that's going to be hopefully filmed in early November. That's very exciting, and it's super important to me. But, next year, I have a whole bunch of mini documentaries that I want to put out that when I'm going to be living in Brazil. So that's important. I'm super excited to accomplish that. And hopefully I'm kind of looking over all these poems that I've written, and hopefully I'm going to publish a book and just sell it. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's always been a dream of mine to publish that and then see where I go from there.
Would you read a poem just to give them a little taste before the episode ends?
Wow. Okay. Putting me on the spot. I've never read poetry for anyone really, which is kind of crazy, or never in a sense to put it out there. This one is very fun, and I wrote it when I was studying abroad in Rome. Moments before a line spoken, the crowd waits like an enthused mob. The pretenders wait still to be persecuted. Moments before, nothing but the lights and the butterflies and the lights. When the deed is done, the mob either cheers or jeers. No matter, steer and piss alike. Love you or hate you, the deed is done. Nothing but the lights. Nothing but the lights. Showtime. I have one it's called The Old Man on His Deathbed. It was after one of my family members died. And it was just like, if I were to take away from a lot of the male role models in my life. Like I wanted to like sprinkle that into a poem. The old man on his deathbed. I'm dying, the old man said. Don't do it, Pa. Sorry, Sonny Jim. That's one battle we can't win. But why? For who knows the birds in the sky? Can I? Maybe say someday, young fellow. There's a lot to do. Be mellow. Don't be scared. But are you? Perhaps long ago, when I thought me and him were foes. Why? Life. But now I hear the victory trumpet sound in his voice, and I realize it's a battle cry. When I get my wings, I'll surely fly. Ace, just know my love for you will never die. Take care of the youngster, Clarence.
Thank you so much for sharing those, Cameron. I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Exclusive Consciousness. This was very, very fun to have Cameron on. It is incredible the types of questions that the brain gives me, you know, because I'll be like, what am I going to ask this dude? What can I ask that's going to make him think deeper? And I didn't want to show him the questions until we recorded. And honestly, I loved his answers. I loved the responses he gave. And I enjoyed that a lot. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And
thank you, buddy.
I look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be back. Also, what thoughts do the elbow give you? If it's like crazy that the brain gives you, I want to know what the elbow gives you.
Yeah, that's on my OnlyFans. Sorry. All right, we'll see you guys later.